Next week marks the 50th anniversary of our diplomatic ties with China. We saw a recent delegation of Australian MPs to Taiwan. Has that caused any speed bumps in the relationship?
No, there have been delegations before of members of parliament, backbench members of parliament. This wasn't a government-to-government visit by those MPs. I think that this year has seen a better relationship, clearly, with China. What we've said when I met with President Xi in Bali was that we would continue to look at measures to move forward together. It is in our interest to have a better relationship with our major trading partner, but it's also in the interest of peace and security in the region to have dialogue. What I've said about China is that we should cooperate where we can, but be prepared to disagree where we must, and we will always, of course, stand up for Australia's national interests.
Will you seek to go to Beijing early next year, if possible?
We of course, will examine any invitations which come in, but we've already had meetings at the leader level. I, of course, also met with Premier Lee, and we have had meetings between our foreign ministers and our defence ministers. So that makes a big change from the previous term of Parliament, when there was no contact, not even phone contact, and that's not a healthy situation.
The foreign ministers held and conducted a bipartisan delegation to the Pacific over the last week. Has your government stemmed the tide of rising Chinese influence in the Pacific?
Well, what we've been about is reassuring the Pacific that we want to remain the national security partners of choice, and that the Pacific, as a family, we need to look after our own security in the region. So the visit led by Senator Wong, the Foreign Minister, has been really constructive, as have the other visits. Senator Wong has now visited more than a dozen nations in the Pacific. Patrick Conroy has visited. I, of course, attended the Fijian Pacific Island Forum meeting. I've had contact and welcomed Prime Minister Sogavare, but other leaders, including the Prime Minister of the Cook Islands. We'll have further visits next year. What we want to do is to re-establish the exchange as well with people from the Pacific, parliamentarians coming here, but also us travelling to there. And bear in mind as well, we had a comprehensive package we took to the election of increased support for the Pacific to enable their economic growth, but also the entry fee for credibility in international relations in this century is action on climate change. My government has credibility, the former government didn't, and therefore alienated many of our neighbours, and those relationships are important.